Hello YouTube, Ollie Williams 242 back with, once again, Atlantis, the Lost Empire. Now, I didn't yet load my file, so I'm just going to do that real quick, but I only got through the first episode, so now I'm off to the Ulysses. This is also a pretty easy level, as you can imagine. Once again, skipping cutscenes. Now, this isn't really an introductory anymore. You actually kind of get into the game a little more, but you don't face any enemies yet. This is simply going through the ship that they're in. So I'm going to actually be capable of skipping everything he's saying. Cool. So, alright, let's just go through here. And we'll be erupted with our first problem pretty early on. Alright, this dude, the commander, tells me that the guns are malfunctioning, so I have to get Audrey to repair them. So this actually is going to be a good time for me to explain all the characters. These are the radios that you will use to get other characters. Walk right into them, and that's that. Obviously use the arrows to go between different characters. Now, I'll kind of explain their abilities as I go along, but I'm just going to give a brief description here. Milo is good for jumping capabilities, and his main weapon obviously is the boomerang. Moliere is definitely not good at jumping at all. He's actually the worst when it comes to jumping. Primary weapon is a handful of rocks, and, well, he's good for like digging stuff and whatnot, and for lighting up extremely poor lit or completely dark rooms for that matter. Audrey is good at, well, in this level, repairing stuff, but otherwise she has a flare gun for increased long range accuracy, and overall is a pretty decently useful character. Vinny has a special ability in the sense that he is capable of blowing up stuff, as I will actually indicate right now. Now, I'll just get this real quick. First aid kits. Let me just explain this real quick. First aid kits give you 20 health. Cans of food give you 10. Every level you start out with 50 health. Despite however much, whatever you do in the previous level, you start off with 50. So now I'm going to show you what this character's main weapon is. I'm going to demonstrate it on the commander here, and this is just giving a quick shout out to my friends at Midget Bear Studios, because guaranteed Matt's going to be watching this within within the next day at most. Will be as long as it takes for him to watch this. Rock On Studios 1, my good friend Matt. Yeah, he took the same example of using the commander here to test out our weapons. His weapon happens to be a grenade, which is extremely useful. Wow, this actually happens to be directly detonating right on his head. That's really cool. Anyways, yeah, he basically throws grenades anywhere, and you can detonate them manually by hitting the circle button right after you throw it. So that can be very useful if you want to time things out. Milo and Vinny are the only two characters that can push and pull heavier objects. So you're definitely going to need to know that. And also, if you see stuff in the way, Vinny can come to the rescue and place dynamite in front of it. And it's actually, wow, that was, convenient. Well, who cares, honestly, because you really hardly lose any health in this level, so I don't particularly care. But, yeah, I just found a can of food, which will bring back 10 more health. I'm not going to bother doing that now, unless if my health runs too low. Yeah, just for a bit of advice, you might want to read that book before you try to explode. I normally don't, that's never happened to me before, but then again, Let's Players can always screw up on even the simplest things, so yeah, I never really bother about reading any of these books. Obviously, I know what I'm doing by this point. Yes, that'll give us a fighting chance. Actually, not really, but you'll soon figure that out. So, let's head on back, and we're going to have to switch back to Milo because he is actually, he's the only character who can climb things, like what I have right in front of me. So that's another one of his special abilities that he has, unlike any other characters. So I'm going to switch back to Milo real quick, which of course activates the checkpoint again. even though that's the only one I used yet. Yeah, whatever radio you've activated the last, that's your current checkpoint. If you ever die or do anything that would normally cause death, you respawn at the last radio that you used. So you have to use a radio in some way or another in order to activate it as a checkpoint. Now there's some kind of room around here. Yeah, it's back here. It actually contains the first Atlantean letter and another radio. I don't think there's much you can do in here, so I'm just going to go through here real quick. Just another Atlantean letter. Oh, and this is where you would go if you screw up on one of the next parts coming up. But anyways, I'm just going to go right back through here because it's the only way I can get out of here. Alright, so I've already found one of the Atlantean letters. I'm not going to find all of them. I probably could, just because they are fairly easy to find now that I think about it. So I may actually get all of them just because. So let's finish climbing this. Here we go. And I'm going to need to switch back to Audrey. Oh, I found a fire extinguisher, which you're going to need later on. Actually, not far from now. Probably like another minute, I'd say. So we'll use Audrey real quick to repair these. And you know, once I finish repairing them, I get a nice message from the commander over there, who actually then admits that it's too late to save the ship. So he orders everyone to abandon ship. Just great, after I spent all my time trying to repair these guns. So, well, whatever. I'll just switch back to Milo again, because let's face it, I'm actually going to need him for the next part. And for probably most of the level. So I'm going to go back here, back to where the commander was standing originally, and I will finally get some use out of that fire extinguisher that I found, as indicated right after this room. So yeah, as you just seen, anytime you see this on the ceiling, you can jump and you would actually be able to climb across things that you wouldn't normally be able to get across otherwise. So this is actually very slow, the speed that he does this, but either way it gets him across, so I don't care. Now back here, yeah, it's the only way off the sub, so I have to go use the fire extinguisher, and then he just runs off. That's nice. Alright, moving on. Just gonna jump down here, and I don't know. Yeah, I'll go in there in a second. Let me just activate that checkpoint, because it turns out the handle is missing from this door, which explains why we're now going to have to go down here and retrieve the handle. Now there's no way I'm going to be able to go past this yet, because, well, the engines are still running. So yeah, I would be dead. Pretty obvious, so I'm obviously not going to try that yet. I'm going to go over here and use the door handle so I can get my way through. Now this guy starts running across, and then he says that the, what's it called? Oh, the release mechanism is jammed, and I have to manually override it. This is actually really easy to do, so just watch real quick. All you have to do is just go through here, go into the next room, and then go through here. The switch is literally right here. Pretty easy. And then that manually overrided the mechanism, and there he goes, leaving me in the sinking ship. Somehow he can still speak to me, but whatever. Yeah, there's another letter here if you want to get that. Looks like I've missed one. I'm not entirely sure where that is at the moment, but if I happen to find it, I will obviously try to get it. It's another example of how I will only get, I will only get the letters if I happen to stumble upon them. I'm not just going to search for every single one of them, but I'll try and get as many as I can. Seems that I've missed one from an earlier part, though, and I'm not entirely sure what that is. So yeah, it looks like, I'm assuming that animation was some water getting in here or what, even though it's not flooded at all, but either way, all those things just blew up, so either way, let's now swim through here now that I'm finally capable of doing so without, getting killed in the process. And depending on where you go, you may end up dying. I'm going to go through the way that you actually have to go through, but I'll backtrack just to show you guys some stuff that you might want to collect. For example, there's an Atlantian letter here, and an extra life here. But either way, I'll show you guys real quick. At the risk of me drowning, I'm actually going to show you guys where some stuff is, just because I want to. See if I can change it. There we go. Let's see. If you go through, which door am I thinking of? This one, you can actually find, wait for it, the green crystal. Of course, like I said, there's only one per level, so it's pretty good that I was able to find that. Looks like I might drown soon, so I'm gonna have to be careful with what I'm doing here. Oh, and the other Atlantian letter that I missed earlier is in here, so I'm just going to get this. It looks like I'm about to drown, but that's not really a huge concern of mine because judging from what I've done while playing through this in the past, is that I'm just really going to stockpile lives. They're going to be like nothing compared to what I'm capable of getting, so that's really not a loss for me at all. So for the purpose of this level, I'll actually show you guys where everything is. So I don't care about drowning him necessarily, not a huge loss. So just trying to remember. Okay, yeah, in here is an Atlantian letter. Let's go back down. Wow, that's great. Through here should be at least one more. Yep. Now all we're missing is the last one, which I actually know its location. So I've showed you guys everything in this area. I'm now going to see if I can make it through. Somehow that lobster got in here already, but whatever. And the next area actually is what contains the final Atlantian letter, indicating that I actually got 100% of everything in this level. Let's see, just activate that real quick. Okay, then all this stuff blows up for no apparent reason other than to make it more difficult. Yeah, who cares about it? Yeah, here's the last letter, so I actually got everything in this level as well, so I'm not off to a bad start in this Let's Play. Now I'm just going to run through and see. Yeah, of course I'm going to get burned. I don't care. He still has 40 health, and that's the last time I will encounter damage in this level. So all I need to do now is flip this switch, and there's his sub-pod that he can get into, and that's the end of the level. Pretty easy level, and I actually was able to get everything at the risk of only drowning him once. So, pretty easy overall. It's going to get a bit more difficult as we go, but since we haven't really encountered any enemies yet, but either way, see you guys.